Hello, everybody. It is Knox from the bunker. Today we're coming with Pickle Rick. We're going to do part two. I showed you in the last video how to do Pickle Rick from Try Hack Me without using the VPN or the attack box. That's what I'm trying to say, but without either of those. But really, that's not going to get you very far. It will get you a taste of what it's like to do some of this stuff, but really you want to get the VPN going and get your own Kali box going and start developing your own method for how you want to attack these boxes. So we're going to do it the more traditional way today. And so I've already booted the machine up, and here it is. I guess I will say if there is if people want a video on how to connect to the VPN or how I do it or things like that later on, I can do a video on that. I feel like there's probably lots of videos about that already if you just go look, but just let me know. So I've already started the box up today. This particular time, the IP is 10.10.27 248, and down here, what I've done is I've got the command that I run for auto recon. So in this case, I have a folder. It's just called Kaytron right now, and it's 0.4. It's a long story, iterations. And I've created a folder called Pickle Rick. And I usually just run as my Knox user. I don't usually run my Kali boxes just like root all the time. Some people do that. I don't normally. But because of that, I have to do a couple weird things. So see, I have sudo python 3. KNAS is uh, my network file system, my NFS, and then I have the auto recon git repo and run the auto recon.py script from the auto recon repo. The host that we're attacking is that 10.10.27.248. I've already updated that. We use this dirbuster.threads attribute, I guess you'd call it, and I've got it set to 100. I don't know if my machine can actually do that, but it's gonna do as many as it can try. The output, that the O flag here is I'm going to home, Knox, Kaytron 4, Pickle Rick, and then I have this little magic here on the end where, because I do it this way and because I use sudo, all the files that are created by auto recon are owned by root because we use sudo. So I just throw this little and ampersand, which if you don't know in Linux, just says, hey, if this command right here runs successfully, then the next thing I want you to do is continue on and run this command right after it. So this means successful. If this command is successful, then run this. If you put a semicolon here, then even if this command is unsuccessful, this would run. I could do that, but I just have the and. So sudo chown recursive, that's what this flag is, recursive, Knox, and then the folder that I'm using here, the Kaytron Pickle Rick. So that way my files are, when this thing is done running, I can actually look at my files without it constantly screaming about me using sudo or whatever. So that was long-winded, but I'm telling you, auto recon is the way to go, and I'm going to show you why here in just a second. So let's go ahead and we'll copy this IP address, and we're just going to go straight to the website because I want to show you, again, if you were just doing like your initial recon and you're just kind of looking it over and you're like, we did this before, right? If we do the page source on this page, we're going to get, here is the username, Rick Rules. If we, and I'm going to paste that in here again, and it's pretty common knowledge. If we want to try robots.txt, we're going to get the, robots. There it is, wubba dub dub. We get that. But I want to show you that if we just use auto recon, we can start learning how to read the output from things like auto recon and find what we need to find. So let me pull over here. I like to use VS Code. Again, you can use whatever you want, but I really like VS Code to be able to look at the output files that come out because they're all right here. So when you run auto recon, it's going to, you can see there's that folder, that Pickle Rick folder that we had. And then we're going to see here is, now this is a different IP than the one we're using today because I ran it on a different time that I had the machine spun up, but auto recon creates all these folders. We see we have scans here for port 22 and port 80 that it found. And we see that these are the overall nmap scans. So we see full TCP nmap. So we look at this guy. Obviously, had a little timeout issue there. And we see that we had port 22, and we had, which is SSH, and we had port 80 right here. And that's it, because that's all this is gonna, that's all this scan was meant to be, was just like a top scan. It even did a UDP scan for me. It did a quick nmap scan for me. Which is probably even shorter. It's about the same. It does this patterns.log file, which nothing came up here other than the fact that it's like, hey, I did see that this is an Apache 2.4.18 Ubuntu machine. That tells us some good information right at a glance. It has this manual commands.txt. So you're like, hey, how did auto recon find that stuff? Well, all you have to do is go in here and it'll tell you like, hey, would you like to try to brute force the login? We've already made a possible command for you to run. Would you like to run more, directory scans with Ferox Buster? Because it already used Dirbuster. So it gives you ideas here for other things that you could run against the machine, which is really nice. And then if we go to, this is what I love though, if we go to port 80, it has run a bunch of very standard things that you would want to run against a machine. And even though this is a basic machine, this is still fun. So we go to WhatWeb, and WhatWeb tells us, yeah, this is an Apache machine. Okay, it's running Bootstrap HTML5. I mean, we already are learning a lot about this machine. Let's see if there's anything else. jQuery is in here. All right, so I don't know if the screenshot will work on this one. Nope, screenshot didn't work on this one. Sometimes the screenshot works and sometimes it doesn't. Obviously, that's a problem. But if we go to, for instance, let's go to the very top here. Curl robots. I mean, it's pretty obvious what this is doing. It is running curl on the robots.txt, and there's that wubba-lubba-dub-dub right here. So it's in our notes already when we run auto recon. So there's our wubba-lubba-dub-dub. And then it did a curl on just the home page, which we already know that there's this note down here. So we could have looked through the page and have seen that. Then we've got Ferox slash Dirbuster. We'll wait on that one for just a second. We'll come back to it. And then we have this full HTTP nmap. And what I love about this when you run auto recon is it's going to run all the standard HTTP nmap scripts against the page. So you can see here it's running chrono, which is a time little script it's running. It's doing an enum. So it's finding a couple of, we don't even have to look at the Ferox Buster slash Dirbuster results, which by the way, if we look at them are, it takes just a little more work to look through them. But if we come back here, right there, we see that we have login.php and that robots.txt that we already looked at. So we're already, we wouldn't have even had to open this web page up. We could have just ran this command down here and started analyzing the results and then gone to the web page if we wanted to. So we see that we've got the login, we've got robots, we already know about that. If we keep scrolling down, these are user agent testers, so it's trying different user agents against it. Looking for an RSS feed, couldn't find it, but looked for it, looked for errors, looked for some other stuff. Here's the title. It's kind of funny that the title's all the way down here. A sitemap structure, if there's a sitemap that it can find. Mobile version checker, no mobile version. Possible SQL injections. And then it does like some Drupal, WordPress, stuff like that. Now, when you get down here, this is one that I mentioned in my I mentioned in the written walkthrough that I did that it took me a long time to realize that I should look through this file every time when I run auto recon, because right here it has this script that's HTTP comments displayer. So if there are any comments in the page, the home page, it's just going to spit them right out right here. And then it spiders. See this max depth 3 page count. So it starts to look through, and that's what the rest of this file ends up being. It starts to look through like assets, bootstrap, and of course there are a few comments inside like the bootstrap and inside some of the CSS files, etc. But the one we care about is right here from the actual main page. There it is, username Rick Rules. So let's go ahead now with what we know. Armed with all of that. Oh, and I guess we will do one more thing. Let's go to the Ferox /Dirbuster. And now, if you understand how these codes work, the 200 is the success. Like that's a good page. We were able to reach that, successful. The 403 is no access, access denied. Right. 404 is I can't find it. 403 is access denied. So we really just care about the 200s right now. So if we do a Control F and we search for 200, we're gonna be able to like flip through the 200s. So let's look through them. So we see the first 3 here are just the, let's see, the Rick and Morty JPEG, jQuery, Bootstrap, okay, and then just the main page itself. And then we jump down to index.html, and then it found assets.portal, and then again it found the login again, and it even found the portal page. And see, this is a 302. So it found the portal.php page, but that redirects you back to login because you're not logged in. That's good to know. I mean, we can learn that from just looking at this. Oh, there is a portal page. But if I'm not logged in, it looks like it's just going to kick me back out to the login page. And then with the robots.txt, and look, it even found clue.txt. So we didn't know about, we would find out about that one later in the other video. But now, again, just looking through our notes from Auto Recon, we're able to learn the existence of this. And I'm pretty sure if we just go back here and we just do clue.txt, we don't even have to get logged in to see this. We just do look around the file system for other ingredients. So we would have found this one a little earlier probably than what they intended. So let's go ahead and get going now, and we're going to go to that. By the way, let's try that. Let's go to portal.php, and I bet it's just going to redirect us to login, exactly like we expected. So we're going to grab the Rick Rules username here. I don't even want to try to remember how to spell this thing with its leet spelling, because it's got the weird letter number stuff. Paste, and then the password, which was wubbalibdibdib. Wubbalibdibdib. Copy. Paste this little guy in. Then we don't need to save it. Okay, so we're here. We're at the control panel. So remember, we figured out that from here we can do a lot of things, but today on this video we don't really care about those other things. I'm gonna click out of that. I'm gonna do the RL wrap. If you're not familiar with RL wrap, and if you want me to do another video like on that, I can do it. But you need to research RL wrap. I think you have to install it on Kali. I don't think it installs automatically on its own. But RL wrap is a wrapper around. You see I've got Netcat here, and if you run this wrapper around your Netcat listener, then you get a few niceties like some tab completion and history. You can push up on your keyboard and get commands back instead of having to retype them every time. It's really nice. So once you start using RL wrap, you won't go back. So there we go. There is, we got our listener going. We're going to jump straight to the reverse shell today. So I'm going to pull my notes back up. Now remember, I said I tried a couple different reverse shells on this guy, and I'm sure there are more that work, but this one is one that I found a while ago, and it's interesting because it's exporting this environmental variable for our host and then an environmental variable for our port Um, and the problem is that assumes that there's actually going to be an environment. Sometimes when you run these, there's not a real environment to even export these to, so it won't work. And then you see here in the Python, we are referring to those environmental variables in os.getEnv. That's what that command is, get from environment, which is, these are environmental variables. And then this one is, cast as an int, the value of the environmental variable, get environmental variable, our port, which is remote port that you want to use for it. And then a couple of the other things here, and then the other magic is just this pty spawn bin shell. So this is the one. I don't use this one very often, but it works very nicely on this particular box. By the way, this guy up here, if you were wondering about it and didn't know, this is on the login page. Like if we view the source on this guy or this page, it's right here. You can do it if you want. You have to recursively base 64 decode this guy like 6 or 7 times, and then it just says rabbit hole. It's really rude. It truly is a rabbit hole. So we're going to paste that in there. Let's make sure this guy's visible. We execute, and there we go. We saw the connection pop up. Now, as you can see, we got the $sign here, which means we're a regular user. If we had a £sign here, it would be root. We also see that we've got what I call a crappy shell. So, I can run a command. I get like double response. It did answer. I just have this $sign and a blinky thing. So if we go back to our VS Code again, and I went ahead and copied it in here. This is Python 3. If you remember, we checked. And we can check again. This box, get this to where I can flip nicely back and forth. This box has Python. If we do which Python, we see we get nothing. If we do which Python 3, we see that we have Python 3 at the box. It's located at user bin. And if you really just want to be thorough, you could do Python 3 tac capital V, and that'll give you the version, and then you know for sure that you can do something with it. So let's copy this Python 3. This is just the classic kind of elevate your shell. Import pty, the Python version of tty spawn bin bash. Okay, so we get that and we paste it in here and we run that, and boom, now we have a real shell. We can see what print working directory. We can see where we're at. We're in var www html. Okay, so now we list the file. Oh, I don't have ll. Alias ll equals. If I don't do this, I will keep hitting ll over and over and over again and get frustrated. So ll. Let's go ahead and make this a little bigger so we can see. Okay, so there's the super secret pickle ingredient text. This is the answer to number 1. So if you wanted the answer to number 1, we're gonna do cat and we're gonna paste, and there we go. It's Mr. Meeseek's hair. There's the clue.text in here just said that we need to search the file system. So let's go to home and we're gonna ll that, and we have Rick. Let's change directory into Rick. Let's list that. Second ingredient. Remember, Rick's home folder is wide open. And again, if you don't know how to read these, the D stands for directory. Notice the second ingredients is a text file, and it just has a little dash or tac, whichever you call it, right there. And that is that means it's a file. If it has a D, it's a directory, in case you didn't know that. And then these 3, this first one is the owner. The next 3 are the group. And then the last 3 is the user. And the letters stand for read, write, execute. So this is read, write, execute by everybody, owner, group, and world, global. So we can cat this second ingredients too. They were mean though and stuck a space in the name, which means we have to escape the space so that Linux knows that we are trying to get that whole thing as a file name, one Jerry tier. And then remember, the last one is inside of the root directory. and we can't get in there. So we could, if we do which wget, we could go ahead. Wget exists, so I always set up my Kali box as a little web server with Python, which we can show on a video that where we really need that. And then I can copy files from my Kali box over here, and we could do some privilege escalation recon to try to figure out, linps, LSE, to try to figure out how to escalate. But before you even go through all of that pain, you should run something like sudo -l. Now, this is silly, and it's because the box is a CTF. The box is a capture the flag. This is not meant to be a real world box. In the real world, you would be crazy to give the www data user no password sudo access to every command, because basically that means that www data, which is it's not even supposed to be a real user. It's just the user that Apache is using to be able to run the service Apache on this box. So in the real world, this would be a serious misconfiguration in the real world. But for our purposes, that's what it is. So now that we know that we can run all things as password, we have a couple, as a root, we have a couple options. We can like sudo ls, I'm going to do the full command this time, root, and then we can see root. And then we could sudo cat root third.txt, and then we get the third answer, third ingredient, which is Fleeb juice. Or we could have just done sudo su, and now we are root. Now we are root. We don't need to use the sudo command anymore. We have complete control of the system. We could run around and delete everything and create havoc and do whatever we want. We have pwned this box. It is ours. So there you go. There is Pickle Rick, and there are several ways that you can beat it, which is kind of fun. Hope you've enjoyed Knox from the Bunker today, and I will see you later.